morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. As I mentioned earlier, I'm traveling this week, but this is a great opportunity for me to produce some all-viewer question episodes. You guys ask me great questions every day, and as you know, the format of the show only allows me to answer one each episode. But these viewer questions allow me to catch up with some of the great questions that I have saved. And it's also a nice reminder that even if you don't see your question answered the very next day after you've posted in the comments, doesn't mean I haven't pocketed it for a later date. All right, so these episodes are structured with 3 questions per episode. And today, the first one comes from Hayden C5. And Hayden says, "Hi Grace, I have a question. Shailene Woodley seems to be everywhere these days. She does. The Fault in Our Stars, Divergent, etc. And is definitely becoming popular with younger viewers. I have not seen her film," says Hayden C5, "but the first time I heard of her was when she was cast and then uncast as Mary Jane Watson for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. With her popularity with the tween audience, do you think that she will be cast as Mary Jane again? And if so, would this new audience help the Amazing Spider-Man series finally get going? Thanks, love the show, smiley face." Thank you for your question, Hayden, and I totally agree. Shailene Woodley's star is definitely on the rise. For a while there, they were saying she was the next Jennifer Lawrence, and I was like, nice try, publicity department. But it seems to actually be becoming the case. So I guess dreams do come true, at least for Hollywood agents. But I don't know if she would go back to the Spider-Man series. I don't even know when we're getting truly another Spider-Man movie. As we've discussed here before on the show, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 has been pushed back to 2018 from 2016 because of the poor performance of the second film. It was unable to match the first film's box office, and even that was an underperformer compared to Raimi's films. So Sony's taking a good hard look at their Spider-Man cinematic universe, and they're going to be focusing on actually other characters. Sinister Six, a female character from the Spider-Man universe is getting her own movie, as was much publicized. And then also there's that Venom Carnage film. Now, maybe Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man will show up in some capacity in those movies, but I think Spider-Man's love life will at least be taking a back seat for a while. Now, I also would say when they do go back to Spider-Man, I don't really know if they should revisit Mary Jane. I think they've done Mary Jane with Kirsten Dunst already, and I think they even went too far there. I think people don't look fondly back at that character. I don't think people are clamoring to see her return to the silver screen. I think more people want to see Gwen come back somehow than they want to see another Mary Jane. So I think that they would be wise to either revisit the Gwen situation if they can, or to focus on a new love interest. If you're reading the comics, they've just introduced Silk, who's kind of like a female Spider-Man, who was bitten at the same time that he was, but circumstances have been very different for her. I think it's an interesting idea. I'm enjoying it so far. They could go in that direction, or you know what? They could do something crazy, like create their own love interest for the character. It happens a lot in animation, and sometimes they create characters that are very popular that go over into the comics. For instance, Harley Quinn, Mercy Graves, etc. Livewire from Superman. A lot of what Paul Dini and Bruce Timm did went over to the comics, and eventually, hopefully, you know, the video games, and then maybe even the movies. We'll see. Mercy is supposed to be in the Batman v Superman. So I would like to not see Mary Jane come back. I think it was a good idea to cut her out of this film. For those of you who aren't aware of that story, Shailene Woodley was cast as Mary Jane Watson. They filmed her scenes, and then Mark Webb cut her from the film because he really wanted to focus just on the Peter and Gwen relationship for obvious reasons if you've seen the film. Now, the other thing, though, is that Hayden, I don't think Shailene Woodley would take the role. I think she already has her action franchise, Divergent. That's going to be 4 movies. She's got 3 more coming. She's very busy with making blockbusters, or supposed blockbusters. But then, you know, if she wants, I think it's very clear that Shailene Woodley is trying to work her career at 2 different levels. Because look at her movies coming out this year. She had both her big ones, are Divergent and The Fault in Our Stars. Both big hits, and on very different tracks. Unlike Emma Stone, who went and made the Spider-Man films and really had to put her own personal career on hold. She's trying to bring it back now, but that's hard to do once you've let something go. Shailene Woodley is keeping both things going at the same time. So I think for her to double down on blockbusters is not something she's going to be interested in. As I said, she has that already. She has that box checked. And I think Shailene Shailene Woodley is probably working very hard to get an Oscar. She's in very strong competition with Jennifer Lawrence, as I mentioned at the beginning, and I think that Jennifer Lawrence has her not only an Oscar, but several nominations, and Shailene Woodley really needs to get on the board. I believe she was actually shut out of her Oscar nomination for The Descendants, even though she got a lot of other awards nominations and some wins for that role. But Shailene Woodley needs to get on the board in that regard if she wants to remain competitive. So I think that's what you'll be seeing her focus most of her efforts on, because Divergent is already going to take care of that other element. All right, so Hayden, thank you so much for your question. The second question comes from Dejwensi Pasile. And Dejwensi says, "Hi Grace, question. You mentioned a couple of times that Halle Berry ruined the Storm character. Would you care to explain why, and do you think there will ever be a standalone movie about Storm? The portrayal of Storm by Halle Berry was the main reason for me to start reading the comics and become a diehard fan of the franchise. Thanks and advice." 3 smiley faces. Well, Dejwensi, I feel that if Halle Berry as Storm got you to get into the comics and into the character, that's a success right there. And while I don't personally like Halle Berry in the role, I'm so glad to see that you did and that she inspired more people to get into comics. So I don't think Halle Berry was a disaster. I just don't think she's what the character deserves. Now, interestingly, she was your introduction to the character. So I can see why you would like the portrayal, because you didn't have anything to compare it to. Also, if she's the one who inspired you to get into the comics, I would say that while Halle Berry's been the character, Storm's portrayal in the comics hasn't been really up to par with how she was portrayed in the 70s and 80s, I believe, as the character. Much stronger storylines, much stronger character. And I think those of us that complain about Halle Berry, who are comic book fans for a long time before the movies, and by the way, whenever you become a comic book fan is awesome. Not to say that one is better than the other, but I'm just trying to show you perspective here. So we're aware of the strength of the character, and we're not too happy, I'm sure, I'm not, and I'm sure a lot of other people are, with even the way she's being portrayed in the comics. So it's not so much picking on Halle Berry, it's just maybe Marvel dropping the ball with a really great character. So there's a Storm comic out right now, which is okay, but still I think the character has yet to really ever reach her full potential. And I think it's because she's a very regal character, and those characters are hard to flesh out. She's not somebody that, you know, has a lot of flaws, has a lot of soap opera. I mean, she was married to T'Challa for a while, but that really took her off the board, and it just seemed like Marvel was like, hey, we have two big name black characters, let's bring them together. You know, the marriage and the romance seemed to just come out of nowhere. It didn't seem organic. It seemed very forced. And I think it was supposed to elevate T'Challa's character, but at the end of the day, it just brought down Storm's. But anyway, I think that as for a Storm movie, I don't know, and we can't even get a Black Panther movie, so I don't know, and we're not getting any solo X-Men movies, really, I mean, except for the Wolverine. I mean, they didn't even go forward with the Magneto movie. So I think they're going to focus on, Fox is going to focus on the X-Men as a team. However, as you know, they're recasting Storm, a younger version, for X-Men Apocalypse, so I think that's a real opportunity. Also, you know, Storm originates her character in Egypt, and that's also where Apocalypse comes from, so I think that you could have a really great chance for a Storm origin story to some degree. Now, a lot of people say Lupita Nyong'o would be a great Storm, and I agree. However, Lupita Nyong'o is already in a galaxy far, far away. So she doesn't really, I think, have the time, nor would they want to have a, you know, why would they want to strengthen her persona and help their competitor Disney when they could build their own talent that's for them, for the X-Men franchise. So actually, when I was watching Sin City: A Dame to Kill For, I thought Rosario Dawson did a really nice job. And I thought she might make a really good Storm. I think she has a lot of the inner strength and aggressiveness, and also I think the potential regal qualities that are so instrumental to the character. Although I think she could also show a softer, more vulnerable side. So I think she'd be a great choice, personally. But then I go, again, you know, Rosario Dawson's another light-skinned actress, just as Halle Berry is. And that's a big discussion going on in Hollywood right now about, you know, light-skinned versus dark-skinned actors, which are more acceptable to the mainstream, and, you know, which, you know, Hollywood is maybe inadvertently putting out a really bad body image issue there, you know, not making women of darker skin feel that they too can be considered sexy and beautiful and movie stars. And I think that's one of the reasons that Lupita Nyong'o is getting so much attention and so much love, is that she's working to correct that. So maybe we'll have another actress come on the scene, because, you know, Gugu Mbatha-Raw is also light-skinned. So for all these actresses doing well, while it's wonderful, I think we'd like to see more variety in, you know, what's considered worthy of a movie star. So if not Lupita Nyong'o and if not Rosario Dawson, I think there's somebody out there who could make a great Storm. And this could be a great opportunity for them to discover some new talent. So I'm curious to how you guys also feel about this. Do you want a Storm movie? Do you like the character of Storm? Are you in the Halle Berry camp, or are you in the anti-Halle Berry camp? And also, how do you feel about the light skin versus dark skin conversation? Do you think it matters? And what do you think how should it apply to Storm? All right, so that's the second story of the day. The second question. The third question comes from John Macy. And John says, "Hi Grace, I just wanted to say that I love your videos." Thank you, John. But I have a question. I'm going to be graduating high school in 2 years, and I'm very interested in being in the film industry as a screenwriter and an editor. I was wondering if you have any advice for someone like me who wants to get started in that field. Thanks, smiley face. Well, John, I think that's a really great goal. I think I really like both career choices that you have there, but I hope that you realize that it's going to be very difficult to be both an editor and a screenwriter. Now, the editor is a little bit more of a steady job. The screenwriter situation, unless you can get into one of these writing programs, for instance, Disney has a very good writing program, and as you can see, they're funneling that talent into their Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy was co-written by somebody from that, and also one of those writers is also writing the Doctor Strange movie. So that's one way to maybe make screenwriting a little bit more of a steady gig and a little bit more of a reliable one. However, if you want to work in editing, there's a lot of competition for editors, though. There's a lot of editors in Los Angeles in particular, everywhere, all the big cities. So, there's a lot of competition for freelance gigs and permanent gigs. However, it's a little bit more reliable than a screenwriter, so it could be a very smart strategy to focus on editing and then maybe screenwrite in your off time to see if you can build that career, and you maybe can make some connections as an editor to see if you can help one with the other. There was a great inspiring story actually just a few weeks ago about an accountant at one of the big agencies who worked on screenwriting in his off time and was able to use his connections at the agency to get himself a TV gig. So I think that's very exciting. And another example, sometimes the path to the career you want isn't always the most obvious or the most direct. So let's go to both ways. Screenwriting, there's a lot of competitions that you can enter, write spec scripts. A lot of people write me sometimes and say, I want to have my own original ideas. But be aware that when you start out in these careers, you're going to be writing other people's ideas. And then once you get good enough, then you can start writing your own. Now, there are always exceptions to every rule. Some people do very well on the indie circuit with their own ideas, but it's tricky. Be prepared to go in both directions, that you can write your own stuff, but that also that you can be hired to write someone else's idea. They're both very important skills that any screenwriter needs to have. As for editing, that's a job where you can either have a full-time gig or you can be freelance. I think the way things are going and progressing, a lot more freelance than steady gigs, but that's fine. Very good rates out in Los Angeles for editors as I've been seeing recently. And I think in that situation, you need to go to school. For both of these, you need to go to a film school. I would actually recommend considering the careers you're interested in, one in Los Angeles. If you can't, that's fine. Everything, you should never feel that not getting into a certain school or any kind of setback is a no. Keep an eye on the ball, make sure you're making progress, but don't let that dissuade you. But I think ideally, John, I would say you should go to USC or UCLA. Those are very good film programs, and they're very connected, particularly USC, into the filmmaking community, particularly behind the scenes. So you'll start to make your connections. Also, internships will be very key here for wanting to be an editor. Go find some good post houses, get in there as an intern, make the connections you need so that they know that you're on their radar when they're hiring and you come up to be available from school. So that's what I would recommend to you. Get the education you need, start making the connections early through internships and also through school, through alumni. Try to make sure you get out to Los Angeles so you can get those internships. And if you can't go to UCLA or USC, there are some other schools there as well, and maybe at least you can do your summers there and intern. And also, as I said, it'd be very hard to be both a screenwriter and an editor. I think of the two, the editor is the more steady, more sure bet as a profession, but neither really is. However, that's the better choice, and then maybe screenwriting in your off time. So that's my advice. Good luck, John. And thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in for today's all viewer question episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And tomorrow there'll be one more before I return from my travels. All right, thank you so much for watching.